Well, hello. It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week. So let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, have you left your mark? Or are you okay with living a good life? Talk about that at the end of the video, but let us know down in the comments. So let's dive into the pens. Alright, so these are the pens I've been using this week. From left to right, I have a Monte Rosa Turquoise, a Diplomat Aero, Senator Regent, Faber Castell 882, A.G. Spalding and Brothers pen, Platinum Izumo, Lamy 2000, and a Pelikan 400 NN. As always, I will be doing this in my Cognitive Surplus. Wow, that is way overexposed. Cognitive Surplus Theory Notebook. Alright, so my first pen is this really nice Monteverde Turquoise pen. I'm trying a slight experiment with the light. I have one high and one low. I'm trying to see if it's different with shadows and things. So let me know what you think. I haven't ever been satisfied with my writing samples, so, you know. But anyway, this is from back when Montblanc made some lower cost pens. This is a steel nib. This was a student pen. And I think a piston filler. I think it writes rather nicely. So this is the Monteverde. Sorry, not Monteverde. Monte Rosa Turquoise, which is a brand of Montblanc. Some of them have Montblanc branding on them. This one does not. And I don't know if it was called the Monteverde Turquoise. That's just what it was sold to me as. Monte Rosa! Sorry, I keep saying Monteverde, which is a modern company and has nothing to do with this. So this is, ink in it is Lamy Turquoise. Because I used up my, I'm going to use that word again, Monteverde Turquoise. And as somebody pointed out in one of the comments, I looked online and I can't find Monteverde Turquoise. And you're right. It no longer is made. So I used up one of the few remaining bottles left in the world. And you might think, especially because of what's coming later in the video, but how can you just waste that scarce resource? Well, I did. But yeah. Monteverde Turquoise. I had somebody express an interest in this bottle, which surprised me, but so I told them, I could send it to you if you want it, but I haven't heard back from them. So I'll keep it a little while longer. If I don't hear back from them, I'll probably recycle it. Another piece of history, ephemeral history that will disappear. You'll see why I'm talking about that later in the video. This is the Fire Blue Diplomat Aero. So one thing I'm seeing with this kind of lighting, I have to tilt it at an angle. Just show the color. But anyway, this is a pen I really like. I don't know why I don't ink it up more often. Probably because I have so many pens that I like. This one has a broad nib. And the ink in it is Krishna Ghat Green, which has to do with mountain passes. When we talk mountain passes in North Dakota... Oh, wait, we don't talk mountain passes. We do have passes in North Dakota. This is low spots on buttes that you can get over the butte through without as much work. But we don't have mountains in North Dakota. It's not flat. People make the mistake of thinking it's a flat state, but it is not, especially where I live. But it's hardly a mountainous wonderland. Okay, my next pen is one of my favorite, I shouldn't say one of my favorite pens, but one of my favorite brands. This is Senator. This is a Senator Regent. I did a giveaway a few years ago where I gave one of these away, and every pen that I gave away in that giveaway, I had to make sure worked, because several of them were vintage. So I wrote with them all first, and man, I loved writing with that pen. This one is good. It's not quite as good. I almost wished I'd given away this one instead, but the other one was what I had promised, so that's what I gave away. So some lucky viewer got it. So this is a Senator Regent. This is a medium nib. Sorry, I had to look. I couldn't remember. And it's not listed on my... Oh, it is listed on my script. Whoops. And it's not a script, really. It's just a list of pens. But the ink in it, let's just shut up and move on with the video. J. Herbin. Bleu Myosotis. I won't burst into song like I did the last time I did this pen. I will say, however, I refilled the pen in the 2 weeks since you last saw it. I didn't do pens in use last week. There were things. So I did a live stream instead, and I'm going to try to get back to doing the live stream monthly. I sadly cannot guarantee exactly when in the month it will be. I'm going to try to do them on Sunday at 1:30 my time. Whatever time that is for you. I'm going to just dial up the exposure a teensy bit because it seems a little too dark. There, look at the chatoyancy again. But I will announce them in advance on the channel so that you know when they are. I get all over the place with topics in those. So this is a Faber Castell 882. This is a pen I need to... Oh, you can't see that with this lighting. Anyway, it's there. So, maybe this lighting works for pens in use, not for pen reviews. Okay, you can see that. What the heck? Okay, just trust me. There's an 882 and an EF right there. So anyway, I was saying something intelligent, I think, about live streams. Anyway, live streams, I get into all kinds of topics. Who knows what? I try to set myself a topic so I'm not just all over the place, but I end up going all over the place anyway. But that's kind of how I am. I like to have a plan, but once I have a plan, I feel free to alter it. If I go in without a plan, I'm very uncomfortable and nervous. But once I have that plan, hey, plans change. So this is a pen, like I said, I haven't reviewed, to my great surprise. Unless it's one of those reviews that was lost back when I was having hard drive trouble, because I did lose several. This was before I had Dropbox, so I kept backups. I mean, I do back up my computer to 2 different hard drives, external hard drives, but I was keeping my videos on just one external hard drive, and broke it. So I lost quite a number of videos and video footage of places and some photos and, just a lot of stuff. So I now do a double backup. All right, so this one is a Faber Castell. This one, A.G. Spalding and Brothers. This I last reviewed on August 28th, 2019, so it fits my 5-year rule. I'm surprised it's only been that long ago. I would have sworn I've had this pen longer than that, but I guess not. So this is an A.G. Spalding and Brothers. I'm not good at drawing ampersands. Has a medium nib. They had 2 different wood finishes, and then there were some plastic finishes. This is Herbin. Stormy Gray. Not Story. Stormy! So it's one of those sparkly inks. It's my last bottle of gray ink. So when I use this up, I get to buy a bottle of ink, because I get to buy the gray that I have preferred this whole time. So out of all the grays I had tried, my favorite was Iroshizuku Fuyu Shogun, but I've had some suggestions for a few since then. There was a Faber Castell gray, and I forget what they all were. I've got them written down somewhere. So I may buy some samples before I finally buy that bottle of ink. But, yeah, I get to buy a bottle of ink when I use this one up. So maybe I should be putting it in my widest pens. And there's a video I'm going to film this week. I don't know when I'll release it, but I may be putting a super broad nib out there that may be just begging for some Stormy gray. Okay, this is my beautiful platinum Izumo. I am not real satisfied with how that one lit. But anyway, I had its nib. It was a double broad, which Platinum calls their coarse. Had it ground to a cursive italic, which has just been spiffidicious. So Platinum Izumo. Yeah, that's a whole area of fountain pens I haven't explored a whole lot yet, is the grinding. Especially some of these custom grinds. So I'd like to get into more of that if I could. So this is Sailor, Jentle, Apricot, which is a discontinued ink. I liked their Sailor Jentle. This wasn't a particular favorite, but as I've been using it more and more, it's kind of grown on me. My favorite is their Sailor Gentle Epinard. A close second is their Sailor Gentle Grenade. And then there's a Sailor Gentle Sky High, Sailor Gentle Ultramarine, and a Sailor Gentle PE with a funny mark over it, CHE, however you say that. Don't speak French, and I think it's a French mark. You know, going by Epinard, I'm leaning hard toward French. And we have my beloved Lamy 2000. She took a little bit of a break because I was trying out a Lamy 80, but she's back in service, and she's happy about it. So Lamy 2000. Oh, there's a little bit of hair in her nib, but we'll just get through this and fix that later. A fine point. And I have another discontinued ink in it, Omas Black. I don't know, Omas inks never did much for me. I used to have Omas Gray, but I used that up. And I have Omas Black. Neither one of them did much for me. And Omas never had many ink colors. You know, that's an interesting thing, too. Some companies have this rainbow of inks available, like Sailor or Diamine. And others like Parker or, well, I was about to say Pilot, but Pilot actually has a whole line of colors called Iroshizuku. Pelikan actually has not a big line, but a line of colors, a small line of colors. Aurora finally got into the color game, so I don't know, make of that what you will. Okay, and my last pen is a very nice Pelikan 400NN. I am sad to hear that this translate. Yeah, this is. So when I do pen reviews, I can't use this setting of lights. Anyway, this is this translucent finish is going to disappear one of these days from Pelikan. So this is a Pelikan 400 NN. I like how this ink is behaving in this pen. I don't know what nib size it is, it doesn't say. And the ink in it is De Atramentis. Red Roses. I am slowly working to use up inks. The one that's in the lead is the Omas Black. The Blue Myosotis is close behind, and the Violet, just because it's a small bottle, is probably next. Okay, if we're going by bottle size, the Ghat green, because that's a very small bottle. And one thing I've come to realize since I started down this road of, hey, let's use up some inks. Yes, it makes sense if you just have a handful of inks to have big bottles because you know, the bargain price. But in this modern day where we're constantly changing out ink colors and we've got many bottles of inks, maybe the big bottles don't make so much sense. You know, for me, a bottle of black ink makes sense to be large. Maybe not some other colors. I don't know. Maybe I should address that in a video one of these days. Okay, so anyway, let's take a look at my face again. So those are the pens and inks I've been using this week. We just won. Actually, this is the reason this video is so late. I literally just got back from line judging our regional play-in game for girls volleyball. I wasn't planning on line judging it, but I line judged it. So, just got back from that. It's almost 8 o'clock. So, fun thing with volleyball, when I started teaching, and I don't know how it was in other states, but when I started teaching, volleyball played to 15 points, but you could only score if your team had the ball. So if the other team had the ball, you didn't get a point. And it made for some god-awful long games. I don't remember how many sets you had to win a game, but it was awful. I hated volleyball. It was absolutely the worst sport to watch. But then, somewhere around my fifth or sixth year of teaching, and I didn't volunteer to line judge very often, but somewhere around my 5th or 6th year of teaching, they switched to what they called rally rules, which meant the games did have to go to 21 points. But every time there was a serve, one team or the other got the point. It didn't matter who had the ball then. And so it made the games go much faster. The only thing I'm still not a fan of is you don't know how long a volleyball game's going to last because, you know, for the younger girls, it's best 2 out of 3 sets. And a lot of times they like to have them do all 3 just for the practice. And then for the varsity, it's the best 3 out of 5 sets. So, for example, tonight's game, we won 3 sets out of 4. So we lost one, which added another, I don't know, half hour to the game, I guess. So if we'd had to go into the 5th set, I'd still be at school line judging. So that's one thing I don't like about volleyball. But having gone to rally rules, it goes a lot faster because you don't get the whole thing where this team has the ball, then that team has the ball, this team has the ball, and nobody's getting a point. That was awful. Another fun thing, you'll notice I'm not yellow this week. I took the camera outside, did some photography with it, and had it set for cloudy day, the white balance, and never changed it back. And so I would edit, and I'd be like, oh shoot, you better change your white balance settings, and then I would forget. And then it would happen again. So when I film in here, I like to do auto white balance. And the reason is, especially in the summer, I have daylight out here. Now, I need to get to my winter settings because I'm supposed to be over here more because you don't really have daylight over here. So then I let you see that lamp there and, you know, that's my little point of interest in the background. So, turn the microphone. Whoop! Forgot about that. In the summer or when there's daylight, I like to have a little view out the window even if it's overexposed. You know, I just think a little natural is nice. But it's dark, so we'll do this. And toward the end of November, I'll put up my Christmas lights and, you know, make it really festive. But anyway, I was looking at a couple of things that came up about YouTube this week. But what I do want to talk about, I was watching a video from Fran Lab, so I will link to that down below. She was mostly an electronics channel. I enjoyed her because she got into vintage electronics. I actually discovered her because of a video on Nixie tubes. I have a you have seen it on the channel before. I turned the camera, but this camera isn't really adaptable that way. I have a Nixie tube clock over there that I use to tell time in my living room. Anyway, I discovered her because of Nixie tubes, and then I stayed because she got into all kinds of electronics components, circuitry, and interesting things. You know, tore apart a alarm clock like the one I think my dad still has on his bedside table, one that has the cards that flip down. And anyway, she's done a lot of interesting things like that. But the last couple of years, she's had to move her location multiple times, which her location, you hear the word lab in there. She has a lot of lab equipment, electronics lab, and a shop, and she does fabrication, and quite a lot. And during that time, she started getting into more commentary type things, and she was doing one recently. It was about making a lasting impact. And she started talking about YouTube and, what kind of an impact is it going to have. And did the camera just quit? Or was that just a weird?
12 seconds later.
I just got a text from Verizon. I've got like 2 days left and my data's running low, so not sure why, but it is. So anyway, I think it's because I do know why. I went to state cross country and used some data there where I usually don't use much data. But anyway, got a text from that. That caused, I think, just the cell phone screen to go to the text, and the camera was still running. I'll find out when I edit the video together. But anyway, that was annoying. Nothing earth-shattering, just annoying because I had to restart everything to get the cell phone connected to the camera, because the cell phone controls the camera. Yeah, I'd like a better system. My fantasy is for that camera to be one where I can see myself, so it flips a little screen out instead of this business, but it is what it is. It's a very nice camera, so, I'll put up with that. But anyway, I think I was talking about Fran Lab. So Fran Lab's gotten into more commentary, and she did one recently, and I will put a link to it in the video description. That was all about, YouTube and having a lasting impact. And she pointed out that because of the amount of time she spends on YouTube, and the big difference between her and me is YouTube is her sole source of income. So she does channel Patreons, channel memberships, all that jazz, and I don't. This is something I do for fun. I make most of my money in teaching. This channel basically pays for a little bit of camera or audio-visual gear, or else some nice pens. Recently paid for a certain Pilot pen, which will make its appearance in one of these weeks. But anyway, she started talking about all the things she could have done if she'd spent that time doing other things. Like, she's a bit of a musician. She talked about songwriting she could have been doing, writing books, stories, poetry, creating things of lasting impact rather than YouTube. So I got to thinking about it. And honestly, these pens in use are not great art. I don't think most people come back and watch them and rewatch them. People do discover them later. I just had a comment this week, and I don't respond to comments the way she does because I don't make my money off of this. So I try to respond to every comment because I'm small enough, but I don't have to get to them that day. Anyway, somebody commented about a Pobeda pen that they had just purchased, and they couldn't find anything on YouTube except for one of my pens in use videos. And I'm pretty sure I've got a video on it, so I'll have to look for that. It's a Bulgarian pen of the 1960s, if you don't know. Yeah, of course you knew that, right? But anyway, for the most part, the topics I talk about afterwards are pretty ephemeral, and they're not, you don't know they're there if you look at the title. So, these pens in use, although they get more views than my other videos, unless I review a pen everybody wants, they're not long-term art. I do get comments on my videos on other topics, my different pen videos. Sometimes, well, I've been doing this since 2007. I can't remember when I started doing fountain pens. It was after that, but I've gotten videos and or comments on some of my earliest videos, even now, and they're out there. For now, YouTube seems willing to just host more and more and more videos. Will they ever reach a point where they start, let's get rid of this? I hope not, because, there's a lot of maybe not as valuable stuff out there. I mean, really, who cares about a fountain pen video by a guy who doesn't even make the effort to script or have a really good cinematography? But, there's snapshots. Wouldn't it be awesome to see Abraham Lincoln like you see me right now? Over 100 years in the future. It's too late at night for me to do math. Wouldn't that be awesome? What a gift that would be. I've often thought that way about even my driving videos. I mean, the least watched videos on my channel, but they are recording a snapshot of what does rural North Dakota look like at the beginning of the 21st century. Right now, nobody cares because it's one of the least visited states in the country. 100 years from now, 50 years from now, it might be interesting. My walks around small towns might be interesting in the future. So I don't see this as valueless. It may not be valuable for the content. It may be valuable just for the visuals and for the sight of somebody from the past talking. But I do see a value in that. Now, if YouTube suddenly goes out of business because, I don't know, some virtual reality streaming service takes over, then that may be it. I have some hopes for things like the Internet Archive then. But I'm not as negative about it as Fran Lab is. She sometimes gets that way. And might a book I write be more valuable? Maybe. But maybe not. Maybe I just write trash. Sure, it gets published and then it's forgotten within a year. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with trash books. Right now I'm reading 2 smart people books. I just finished one of them, Carl Sagan's Contact. Reread it, first time since I was in elementary school. And then the other one is Chinua Achebe's... is it No Longer Standing? I can't read it across the room because it's laying under some papers. I think it's No Longer Standing. Anyway, it's the last in his African trilogy about the colonization of Africa. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. And it's got Okonkwo's son. And I've reviewed the first in that trilogy on this channel already. So I read those, but I also was recently reading a detective novel, and I can't even tell you the name of the main character because it was gone as soon as I quit the novel, but who can talk to the dead. He's a forensic pathologist or something. Anyway, he can talk to the dead, which, would be handy in that career, I guess. I can't even remember the name of the book or much about it, except he talks to dead people, and they show up in his morgue. Totally trashy, totally forgettable, but those are enjoyable too. So, I don't think she's giving herself enough credit. And I saw a lot of value in especially the electronics videos she did. So this is a new art form that exists. And the media that it's stored on is more ephemeral. Get a large-scale nuclear war, it may not survive, but, think about the tragedy of burning of different libraries. Alexandria Library is the famous one. Think of the artwork and wonderful things that were lost in any war. Think about the Taliban in Afghanistan blowing up some ancient sculptures because they were idols. Things get lost. It's the nature of things. Honestly, have I left enough of a mark that 50 years after I die, people are going to know who I am? Probably not. Maybe some of my former students will remember me. That'll be about it. That's just the nature of things. I will remember my parents after they're gone. I remember my grandparents. But these things pass. I think of my very young cousins who never really got to know my grandparents. The names mean very little to them. And it's kind of the same way with, I don't want to get too specific about my family, but, one set of grandparents, I never knew my grandfather because he died well before I was born. And my grandmother, I remember her, but most of what I remember of her is after she had Alzheimer's. So, I think what lives on more than that is the impact you have on people, whether it's remembered by your name or not. Just that kindness and goodness and bringing happiness to people and just generally making their lives better even in the quietest, most subtle ways. That's what's going to live on. Just the good you do that you pass on to other people and they pass on in turn. I don't have to be remembered. If I die, remember this. I don't want a gravestone. I don't want to be buried in a cemetery. I want the most environmentally friendly, whatever way there is to dispose of me. Because this physical body doesn't matter, just the things I did. And maybe I have no sentimentality. I have been to the gravesite of one set of grandparents, never to the other set. And, my mother's, would you like a few minutes? Nope. It means nothing to me. They're not there. They're in here. And, the pictures and the memories other people have. So, the fact that I have this ability to leave videos behind, is this any less valuable than, say, my correspondence? My letters I've written over the years? Any less ephemeral? I mean, I imagine if somebody comes to clean out my house, any of that kind of stuff, they're just going to toss. If I'm not a famous author, they're not going to care about anything I've written. So, it's the nature of things. We don't want to clog up. We don't want the past clogging up the present, is what I'm trying to say. Now, she did mention a few things that made me, I had to do some research. One of the things she talked about is how accounts that haven't been active for 2 or more years are being deleted, and then those creations are being lost. YouTube is not deleting videos. Occasionally, you violate their terms of service, yes, but that's another topic of discussion. But they're not going in and deleting old videos. Yes, they're deleting some old accounts, especially if they, basically the ones that never produced a video. Why? Because since they're inactive, hackers are getting access to them. I get comments from those hackers from time to time. Oh, look, this account that's been active since 2006, that's never produced a single video, is commenting weird stuff about selling something on my channel. That's why one of the reasons YouTube is doing that. And it frees up usernames and such. So, YouTube is not deleting videos. Now, one concern does come up. This is very physical. I own it. Amazon or Barnes & Noble can't come and say, "Give me that," and take it away like they can if it's on my Kindle or my Nook. If the bookstore where I bought that, which who knows where I bought, Thrift Books. If Thrift Books goes out of business, that book does not disappear. It's here on my shelf no matter what happens to the business that sold it to me. Now, if I have books on my Kindle, Amazon can and has deleted them off of it. Not to me personally, as far as I know, but to other people. They can't come take that. This has the advantage of the format can't really get obsolete. Like, how you doing with your Betamax tapes? Or your Laserdisc? My VHS player that I used to own, how long have I owned this house? It died before I bought this house. So probably 14 or 15 years ago it died. Yeah, that's not accessible. Formats change. How your 8-track's doing. That kind of stuff doesn't last. Whereas the written form is better. But what if I'm one of these people in a hurricane zone where this gets flooded? Okay. Might be able to make it out. But it's more likely to just get thrown away. But yeah, some of what we're piecing together about the past, some of the manuscripts that were the foundation of the Bible and so on are on damaged fragments. So it's all ephemeral. So the ephemeral nature of YouTube doesn't bother me because, yeah, we can't get buried by the past. We need to leave room for the future. So I have a cheerier view of it than Fran Lab, and it doesn't bother me to be forgotten. My lasting work is how I affect people's lives and how that causes them to affect other people's lives, whether I get credit for it or not. And who knows, maybe I'm a negative influence. I would rather be forgotten than to be remembered for, oh yeah, you remember that teacher? He's the one that used to make kids cry. He used to like failing kids on tests. I hated going to school because of him. And worse, I'm being very mild there. I've never killed anybody so far. I would rather be forgotten than be remembered for the wrong reasons. To some people, any kind of notoriety is better than nothing. One of the things we deal with as teachers is kids wanting attention, and if they can't get attention for good things, they'll get attention for bad things, but they're darn well going to get attention one way or the other. And so, the legacy of YouTube, I think, is going to be more historical than anything else. Like I said, this is what fountain pen nerds in North Dakota looked like in 2024. Hello, you there in 2068. 2068, would I be alive then? Sorry, it's late at night, 46 years from now. I doubt it, but I could be, but I doubt it. Just judging by family history. The last thing I wanted to mention, speaking of legacy, this coming Monday, the United States observes a holiday that they call Veterans Day. In a lot of other countries, it's known as Armistice Day or Remembrance Day. And what it is, it's the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, which is when the hostilities of the First World War ended, back before we knew we had to number them. And United States separated it into two holidays. So Veterans Day in the United States is to remember all of those who have served. We also have a Memorial Day in May where we remember those who gave their lives for the country. Thank you to all veterans, living or passed away. And I do think it's important to remember that because you might be living the most peaceful time, but you're willing to put your life on the line. It may not look like you're going to, but you're there. So I think that's valuable. And all those who serve, I actually had a discussion with a woman today whose father wanted to serve. I don't want to get too specific about branch of the military, but he wanted to serve in the Vietnam War. He ended up finally in National Guard and never went to Vietnam, served in the U.S. and has always been ashamed of that. Like, he is less of a man somehow because of that. And, you know, you have to remember he served. He was willing to put himself out there. How this country used his service, that's another question. But I would say that he must have been needed there. And so that's service. You might say, well, I'm just a cook in the cafeteria. The mess, sorry, that's the word I was looking for, the mess. And, yeah, but you're serving a valuable purpose, even if you never actually see warfare. A lot of soldiers never actually see frontline warfare, but they're still serving. And they're willing to take the risk that they will see warfare and violence and loss of life or limb. So, thank you to all you who serve. And thank you also to family who stay behind while they serve and keep things stable on the home front. So, anyway, I brought this up in class one day. I do what I call bell work. It's just a little something to get the kids in their seats and doing something when the bell for class rings, rather than, come on guys, let's sit down. Come on, sit. We're going to sit now, right? Oh, you're not sitting. Come on, remember we sit to start a class. Remember? Come on, sit. Instead of playing that game and then getting mad and all that, I just have something for them to do right away. And anyway, so one of my things was, what's the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day? So Memorial Day, like I said, is to remember those who passed. Veterans Day should be a happier occasion here in the U.S. because we are remembering those who served, living or dead. And there are a lot of the living still around. And we should celebrate their service. I'm not one of these people, my country right or wrong. When my country makes mistakes, it needs to be called to account. But that has nothing to do with the people serving, because they've given up a lot of their freedom. If I decide tomorrow, you know what, screw North Dakota, I'm going to go teaching somewhere where it's warm. California, here I come. If I decide that, I can do that. I have that freedom. Maybe not the financial freedom to do it, but I have that freedom. Whereas if you're in the military and they say, yeah, we're going to post you to Minot, North Dakota. And you say, well, screw it, I'm leaving. Too bad. They basically own you. You've given up that freedom. So, I don't like making a big show of thanking veterans. Oh, if I see somebody in uniform in the restaurant, I'm going to buy them a meal. I'm not that person. But I think it's good to take that 1 or 2 days and remember the service that they gave. So, no, I'm not somebody who is going to put out flag-patterned plates on Memorial Day to eat off of, because that's not a proper display of the flag, and Memorial Day is not a celebration day. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents. So, you got a little bit of the lasting impact of YouTube, some babbling about legacy media, and then some Veterans Day. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. And if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, what really would you like your lasting impact to be? Do you want to be forgotten? Do you want to be remembered in some big way? Or are you content to live a good life and pass on and be forgotten? Except by those who care about you. So let us know down in the comments. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.